Iran has issued one of its strongest warnings in years, saying that any major American military action would trigger what it calls a full-scale war. Almost immediately, the response from Washington did not come in the form of speeches or press conferences, but through movement on the world's oceans. The U.S. Navy has deployed the aircraft carrier Abraham Lincoln, accompanied by 3 guided missile destroyers toward the Middle East, signaling that the United States is taking Iran's warning seriously and is preparing for every possible scenario. An aircraft carrier like the Abraham Lincoln is not just another warship passing through international waters. It is a floating airbase, a symbol of American power projection, and a message that can be read clearly by allies and adversaries alike. When a carrier strike group moves, it raises an unavoidable question: is this about preventing war or preparing for it? Iranian officials have been unusually direct. They have stated that if the United States crosses certain red lines, the response would not be limited or symbolic, but broad, regional, and potentially uncontrollable. When Iran uses the phrase full-scale war, it is referring to a conflict that could extend far beyond a single strike or a single battlefield, involving U.S. forces, regional allies, and Iran's network of partners and proxy groups across the Middle East. The Abraham Lincoln is one of the most powerful military assets ever deployed by the United States. As a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier, it can operate for years without refueling and project airpower hundreds of miles inland without relying on foreign bases on board. It carries a massive air wing that typically includes F-18 Super Hornets electronic warfare aircraft like the Growler early warning planes, such as the Hawkeye, and multiple helicopter squadrons. But this deployment also brings something new into the equation. The carrier air wing now includes F-35 Lightning II stealth fighters, one of the most advanced combat aircraft in the world. These jets are designed to penetrate heavily defended airspace, evade radar detection, and collect vast amounts of battlefield data, sharing it in real time with ships, aircraft, and command centers. Their presence significantly expands what the carrier can do, not just in terms of firepower, but in intelligence, surveillance, and dominance of the air domain. In practical terms, this turns the Abraham Lincoln into far more than a strike platform. It becomes a mobile command hub capable of launching stealth operations, coordinating complex attacks, and responding to threats before they are even fully detected. And that raises a critical question: when stealth fighters and a full carrier strike group move closer to a potential adversary, is the goal simply to deter conflict, or to ensure that if deterrence fails, the outcome is decided quickly? For Iran, this represents both a threat and a challenge. Iranian military planning has long focused on countering carriers through missiles, drones, fast attack boats, and asymmetric tactics. The arrival of the Abraham Lincoln forces Iranian commanders to consider worst-case scenarios, just as U.S. planners must consider how Iran might attempt to respond. This mutual awareness is where deterrence is supposed to work, but it is also where miscalculation becomes dangerous. Sailing alongside the carrier are 3 U.S. Navy guided missile destroyers, most likely from the Arleigh Burke class. These ships are not merely escorts, they are powerful combat platforms in their own right. Each destroyer is equipped with the Aegis combat system, allowing it to track and engage multiple threats simultaneously, from ballistic missiles to aircraft and drones. They carry Tomahawk cruise missiles, capable of striking targets deep inside hostile territory, as well as advanced surface-to-air missiles, designed to intercept incoming threats. Their role is to form a protective shield around the carrier, detect danger early, and respond decisively if that shield is tested. This leads to a sobering question. If a missile were launched toward the carrier group, would there be time for restraint, or would events escalate automatically? The United States moves naval forces around the globe every day, but timing and context are everything. This deployment comes at a moment of heightened tension immediately following Iran's warning of a full-scale war. It is impossible to view the movement of the Abraham Lincoln as routine. Instead, it functions as a deliberate signal, one meant to reassure allies, deter adversaries, and demonstrate readiness. At the same time, such signals can be misunderstood. History is full of moments where military posturing intended to prevent conflict instead contributed to it. The presence of heavily armed ships in close proximity to a rival increases the stakes of every encounter, every radar contact, and every decision made under pressure. Carrier strike groups move quickly, but they are also highly visible. Depending on their starting point, it can take several days or even a couple of weeks to reach operational areas near the Middle East. However, arrival is not a single moment in time, long before the ships reach their destination there. Movement is tracked by satellites, analyzed by intelligence services, and factored into military planning on all sides. In that sense, the impact of this deployment has already begun. The ships do not need to be on station for their presence to influence decisions, raise alert levels, and shape the strategic environment. As the Abraham Lincoln and its destroyers continue their journey, they carry more than aircraft and missiles. They carry a message, one of power, readiness, and resolve. Whether that message succeeds in preventing conflict or instead pushes the situation closer to the brink remains an open question. What is clear is that the margin for error is shrinking in a region already filled with tension. The movement of a single carrier strike group can shift the balance between peace and war. And as both sides watch each other carefully, one final question remains: are these ships ensuring stability, or are they sailing straight into the most dangerous moment yet?